to Jason Bennett.
I'm married to Bernie, and we've been married for 5 years.
It'll be 5 years in March. It was December the 21st, and we had fallen asleep, and we had a candle left on the side table, which of a wicker drawers.
It was kind of as if I was dreaming this whole kind of situation happening. I thought it was Bernie saying, you know, Jay, there's been a fire, you need to get up, sort of thing. And so I woke up and there's like this little fire right next to me, and I was like, what was this?
I just recall Jason waking me up with a shout saying, Bernie, wake up, there's a fire. That was about 4:30 in the morning, and once I was up, I said to Jay, how did you wake up? I didn't hear anything, you know. How did you wake up? He said, you called me. You woke me up. I said, no, I didn't. And he said, I clearly heard you say, Jay, there's a fire, wake up. And that's what shocked me, because he's the one that woke me up. And I just knew that that was definitely an angel, or definitely God working, even though it was my voice he heard.
My first thought was to put it out. And it wasn't like, you know, in TVs or movies where, you know, you think, oh, I better grab a towel, or I better grab this, or I better grab that. I just started putting it out in my hands, get the situation under control, and, you know, make sure my wife's kind of not affected. I had no idea that I was even burnt at that point. I started feeling it when we were on our way to hospital.
You don't realize how bad things, you know, your burns are. I didn't realize I was burned until I looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh my gosh, my face, because I had my forehead and arm and stuff. And you don't feel anything when you're in shock. I'll never forget going to hospital, and the first thing the lady said at the hospital was, she picked up the phone, she goes, we've got 2 burns patients. The girl's okay, but the guy's really bad.
They took us both through straight away and put us in cold showers. And then they put Glad wrap all over my burns. So I had Glad wrap on my hands, on both my knees, on my elbow, and then just around this part of my neck.
I got away with just superficial burns, thank the Lord. But Jay, unfortunately, had to go to Middlemore. Everyone was saying things like, oh, your burns are really bad, you're gonna probably need grafts. Yeah, you'll probably be in hospital for this and that, and you'd probably need a chemical scrub, and then we'll have to peel it off and that sort of thing. And Jay hates even the smell of a hospital, so I was just like, oh my goodness.
I was just lying there, and I was like, okay, you know, God, I know this has happened. I understand that it's bad, but I don't want to feel any pain.
Miraculously, whenever they offered him pain relief, he didn't need it. He said, I really am not sore, I'm not in pain. And I was like, you don't have to be a tough guy, it's okay. And he was like, no, I'm not in pain. I'm like, it's great. One
doctor would come in and say one thing, and then we'd pray, okay, you know, what do we want from this? We don't want that. Okay, cool. So we'd pray against that. And so then, you know, the next doctor would come in, and he'd be like, okay, it's not quite as bad as what we think. And so we can probably get away with, you know, the next thing that I didn't want to happen. And so, you know, then he'd go away, and then, you know, we'd pray again, you know, against whatever they were saying. And then, you know, then the specialist comes in and he's like, you know what, I actually think, you know, your burns aren't quite as bad as what they look. So it went from being really bad, you know, definitely grafting, definitely scarring, you know, all of this stuff, to actually we'll just, you know, do the least of the options and see how it goes.
He didn't have 10% burns in the end, it was 8%. He didn't need to have a chemical wash or anything like that. He was in hospital, I think, for about 2 days. But yeah, he was discharged. I mean, not a pretty sight for both of us. We both weren't looking that good at that time, but the main thing was, you know, we were alive and safe, and God protected us.
What they discovered was that there'd been an explosion. The candle had somehow gotten hot enough to heat up this can of deodorant, and it exploded. And it was on my side of the bed, and it blew, you know, one wall, you know, basically into another room, and then it blew the opposite wall straight out onto the deck. And then part of that wall, there was a ranch slider, and it had blown the ranch slider out of the wall as well, and then blown like a part of the deck railing off. On our bed, there were like massive shards of glass from the window above our heads. They were probably that long, just all over our bed, all over like we were sleeping and everything like that, but we didn't get like a single cut from it, which was just kind of incredible. So when we were at North Shore, the police came in, and, you know, he looked at me and he was like, look, this is what happened, and it's a miracle that you guys are alive. And And I'm like, yeah, no, I know that. He's like, no, seriously, it really is a miracle that you guys are alive. In 20 years, he's never seen an explosion like that where people walk out. He just said it just doesn't happen. And then to only have what we had, he said that's just unheard of. The result now, as far as scarring goes, you wouldn't even know Bernie's burnt. Mine, yeah, is pretty much the same.
I think the reason we're protected the way we did is that God had his, hand upon us. Sometimes you don't understand why these things happen, but from the start, you just got to know that God has his ways, has his reasons. We don't understand it always, but there's good coming out of the situation.
I think, in some ways, it kind of shows you what's important in life. At the end of the day, I couldn't actually really have cared if the house was burnt down. It was just more knowing Bernie's okay, I'm okay, then that's fine, we're going to be okay.
After all that craziness with the fire at the beginning of that year, God had told me, this year is going to be quite joyful. And I was like, this can only be you, God, because everything is happening and you telling me that the word for this year is joyful. And it's so true, because when you look back, it was in June that year that I found out, oh yes, last year I'm pregnant. And it's like God can turn any situation around and bring joy and restoration. So we're really excited.
I mean, it's still not to say it's not nerve-wracking, and that there's not going to be times where I'm like, what the heck? That's kind of a good position to be in, because you know that God will just make up for your shortfalls, and you just got to trust God, and at the end of the day, he's not going to leave you hanging. So.